And as you do, where are we at with time? 3:25. Okay, let's do about another half an hour, then we'll take another break. Um, as you guys step through the portal and your view gets kind of cut off, you all have some things to think about that you've just discovered. Um, and your mind is preoccupied for only the briefest of moments before you are able to look around and see. Let's see, let me just make sure this is all set. This. Okay, everything looks good. Okay, so you guys only have a moment to look around before the landscape in front of you gives way. You guys travel just a few yards, and this image that you see before you actually starts to shift and morph, and that odor and faint sound of water in the distance quickly begins to get more and more powerful, and you guys see in front of you a large civilization as what seems like an exterior illusion of the landscape fades away. Okay? Um, and as you guys look around, you see before you an extremely advanced, both scientific and magically adept civilization of a fairly small scale spread out before you. Now, this would not be considered necessarily a large city, but it definitely would be considered at least a small one to most civilizations. There's obviously um, fortifications and large structures and infrastructure built up in the surrounding area. There are aerial vehicles and what appear to be perhaps defensive platforms that seem to be hovering and patrolling all over the area. The tech looks very, very advanced, and you would guess that most of it is either extra dimensional or alien in nature. Um, the architecture does not look familiar to any of you. And Dex, this is strange for you because your people not only do, lots of traveling, as well as dimensional traveling, but it's so casual in their culture that they're actually kind of a pretty good encyclopedia of just different types of architecture, just different styles of things like that. Because as you travel, not only from city to city and nation to nation, but from world to world, you're very quickly exposed to, tens of thousands of different styles that normal humans would never be able to imagine, even if it's just in a casual way. But like I said, to your eye, this actually looks foreign. It looks unknown. So it definitely raises an eyebrow for you. Um, all right. As you guys look around, you notice that everybody seems to. Let me see. Everybody seems to be kind of, rallying up together and getting, kind of staged into the same area. People don't seem to be like walking on into the distance. So as you guys are all kind of getting a little more bunched together, um, you hear a pretty loud voice saying fairly gruffly, let's see. Atlantean, I would know what your business here is. Do you wish to hunt one of us? You look over to your left and you see that there is an 8 foot tall, massive combat cyborg that's kind of staring you up and down. And as he's looking at you, you can see that one of his fists, or what passes as his fist, seems to be opening and closing with a vice-like grip and steel, almost like claws for fingers that look like they could easily um, dismantle a standard vehicle in just a few minutes. Um, see real quick. Okay. As you're kind of checking this out and listening to what it is he just said, you guys all kind of look over to
Ooh.
check out what's going on, and you guys see that this is the thing that's kind of approached your group and is looking down at Dex's character. So, as it says this, you also notice that now a whole bunch of the other individuals that were fellow kind of merc hopefuls have also gathered around, and a bunch of them actually, they don't look necessarily aggressive, but they do look relatively hostile towards the Atlantean in your group. Um, some, however, especially some of the more savage and less human um, members of this large crowd, have actually started circling over towards you, Bear. And they actually seem to be positioning themselves a bit almost like they're wanting to show that they are in support of you in particular. Okay. And as a few approach, you see one that looks like a kind of humanoid bull looking kind of barbarian character that he kind of looks over at you and nods and lets out like a really loud kind of snort. And you see that he is carrying some kind of large club and seems to be something supernatural. I mean, he definitely looks like he's not just some kind of mutant or alien species. He looks like he probably has some kind of magical ability. Um, give me just 1 second, guys.
How tall is he?
You would guess that he is. I mean, he's definitely up to your chest at least. So you'd
Okay.
say that fully standing erect, he's probably close to your height.
Okay.
Um, give me 1 second here. Come back to this. And we are just going to go like that. And this. There we go. Can you guys see that okay?
Yes.
Oh yeah. It
Okay.
looks sick.
All right. So as he's standing there kind of he gives you a little nod and kind of a snort, and you also see that his hooves kind of dig in and kind of push backwards, kicking up a bunch of grit and rock and everything, almost like just kind of sharpening his hoof against the ground and getting ready.
Right.
He also has several other kind of quasi demonic, animalistic looking companions that seem to be in his group, and they all seem to be backing him up. Um, Other than that, people seem to be stepping back. A lot of them are like lighting up a cigarette or pulling out a little flask, and turning to kind of see what's going to happen. Just people, just hardened warriors that they know they're not in it, so they're just going to sit back and fucking watch. Um, as soon as all of this starts squaring off, there's a pretty loud kind of electric sizzling uh, that fills your guys' ears, and there's a sharp scent of ozone and a palpable kind of electric current that feels like it runs through everybody. And all of the sudden, the rift seems to close, and you guys are now standing just in this environment by itself. The other two, the robed figure and your guide, are on the other side and have left you guys behind. Um,
Hell yeah.
okay, now that you've come through, um, you're also noticing that the Borg is being backed up. One of the other larger members of his crew is this machine. This thing is about 15 feet tall. But so far as it's been running, it's been walking more like almost like a crab. So it's actually kept a much lower profile. It looked more like a just kind of like a low to the ground walker previously. But as it steps up into the kind of little ring that's forming, it actually raises itself up to this height. The main cannon in the front kind of pops out of its housing, and you hear a slight whine as its capacitors charge up, obviously with some kind of powerful energy or projectile weapon. And the top turret seems to go live and kind of whirs to life as servos spin it around from where it was pointed before, barrels down flat and pointing behind it as it was traveling. It points forward and up into its current position that you see, and you guys hear basically several weapon systems come online. It is not pointing any weapons directly at anybody yet, so you don't feel like it's actually, it's definitely not going live and taking a shot at anybody, but it's getting itself ready. Um, as it does this, you guys hear a voice over the loudspeaker going. It comes over the loudspeaker and it says, "Trust me, guys. You don't want none of this. These guns will fuck you up." Okay, so as you guys hear that, let's see what each of your characters is wanting to do. Um, let's start with you, Dex.
Mm. So, me being me, I put my hands up. I'm like, oh, no beef, no beef. I'm just here, just like everybody else, just trying to see about this beautiful competition.
All right. At this, right away, you start hearing a few murmurs as people are kind of trying to figure out whether that's reliable or not. Bear, what are you doing?
Noticing the fellow primal warrior's slight support, Ymir notices the nod and gives him one back. Just the faintest, even in his armor, it's the faintest of nods, but they catch each other's look, and the two warriors understand each other. Not
Okay.
understanding what this giant metal thing is, talking to his friend in an aggressive tone. Ymir doesn't approach necessarily aggressively, but the giant readies his hammer slung over his shoulder behind his neck and steps forward alongside Dex as a show of solidarity and support, knowing that nobody will mess with any one of his party members who he calls bear friend, that they mean something to him. Even in this early stage, that kinship is already starting to imprint itself on him, and so he's looking out for a comma.
Okay, excellent.
Heck yeah.
Excellent.
But like I said, he doesn't approach aggressively. Just think of it as flinging it over his shoulder, but steps forward even with him in a show of solidarity. So not aggressive, but showing that if you're going to do that, then we got big guns too, basically.
Okay. All right, excellent. As you do that, several of the denizens around you of this group are they all kind of take a step back. You'd say probably 1 in 3 people in the crowd take a step back and not really raise weapons or anything, but kind of like put an arm in front of them and just kind of do a brief kind of defensive posture where nobody's really sure what the fuck you're doing as you start fucking whipping that goddamn hammer through the air. Nobody wants any of that shit. So, several people take steps back. Obviously, it kind of breaks the interest, the spirit of, the need for watching other people's drama for several of these individuals, because about a third of the crowd does go ahead and start breaking off, moving back into their original groups, and just kind of dismissing what's going on, realizing if this gets bad, I'd rather not even fucking be standing right here. Okay, and Ren, what would you like to be doing?
Can I get a read on this machine? Does it look like it's remotely manned, or is it like a AI machine operated?
You're 100% sure that it is an actual cyborg. So there is an actual living biological consciousness being housed somewhere within all this machinery that's just guiding
this
the machinery.
tanky looking crab walker
Yep.
thing is actually okay.
It's definitely a RoboCop type situation. So
well, considering that everything I've tried thus far compared to my compatriots has been a failure in some way, I'm probably just gonna keep my mouth shut and observe.
Okay.
Also, guessing that my spell buffs already wore.
Which spell buffs?
My armor of Ithan, because I think that only lasts.
Oh no, I think it's 10 minutes, isn't it?
I think it's at 1 minute for.
That shouldn't be right. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be longer than that. Let me know once you see it. Does it have a duration on there?
Yeah, but let me double check the old good old books.
Right on. Yeah, that might be something that we just didn't fill in yet. So.
I thought I had. Let's see. Armor of Ithan. Level are you?
I believe it's 10 MDC.
Duration 1 minute, 4 melee rounds.
Does that increase with level?
Yeah, one per the level of the caster. Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so yeah, that definitely wore off. But just well, you guys have been literally all you did is walk through, and the dude fucking said something.
Well,
You,
it will wear
it's
off during this
base
conversation.
exactly. It's basically popping right now or within the next couple of seconds. So
Yeah, I mean, this spell is basically to use in combat.
yeah.
Wasn't sure if we were gonna hop right into combat when we went in.
Hey,
That's why.
I mean, if you guys get free castings anyway, why not? You know what I mean?
Right.
So, all right. So you
Yeah,
do
just
feel
keep my
that
mouth shut.
armor kind of bleed out, and you just kind of sit there quietly observing what's happening. So let's see. At seeing these different things unfold, especially seeing the backup seem to approach your group to the flanks and rear, the mech, or I'm sorry, the Borg, um, essentially turns that little fucking round head of its at a kind of cockeyed angle, kind of showing either a general level of being impressed with all of you actually having some balls, or just realizing that there's nothing to be gained from starting a conflict now and processing that profit is to be had by showing a little bit of self-restraint in this situation. The Borg seems to conclude that it's best to simply leave well enough alone and continue on towards the competition's starting point. So with that, it just starts
Fuck off,
pivoting
board.
on its massive fucking
Yeah.
legs. It just starts pivoting and turning away and walking off to rejoin some of the other members of its group. You also notice that the large fucking mech seems to be doing the same thing and falling in line kind of close behind its cyborg companion. The rest of the crowd starts dispersing, not very quickly, and it's still staying relatively together. But it is starting to put some space between everybody again. This is going to be okay. So, as this is happening, you guys hear some shouts coming from what you now realize are several of this area's, this civilization or this city's defenses, defensive units and troops. You start hearing some of these shouts coming from some of these individuals, where about a dozen or so appear to be just at different areas in a rough kind of circle surrounding your group. These individuals have a strange, thick accent, and just from the look of them, what you gather is that they are humans, maybe from this land, but they are not the rulers of this land. They appear to wield technology that appears quite alien to humankind and design. And it almost looks like maybe they're a fusion of whoever the conquerors seem to be that own and run this area, but also with their more primal nature from being in this almost like island or seaside kind of territory. These people look like they were relatively primitive, but have been kind of elevated by the technology of their conquerors. So as a few of them start to shout and get the attention of you guys, you see that they all have their weapons lowered and pointed at you, but in more of a make sure you don't step out of line rather than I'm about to kill you and take your shit kind of way. You guys notice that one individual in particular seems to speak up after some shouting to kind of get everybody's attention. And this individual shouts out in English. As he does, does anybody want to do anything as this guy starts shouting something out? Just wanted to make sure there's nothing anybody's wanting to do.
Yeah, no, not for me.
Okay, Bear, you right away hear that this guy's yelling something in the same tongue that most of the people in this land seem to use, but unfortunately you don't understand what it is that he's saying. Okay. So for you guys that do understand, roughly he yells, break up the disturbance over there. He says, time to head to the port and get to your assigned ship. He says the ferry will take you to the mainland, and from there you can decide where you wish to go. He says, prepare yourselves for a half day's journey to the water's edge and the port. We will leave in 5 minutes. At this, he falls quiet and seems to pull out what looks to be just a pretty normal kind of handheld walkie-talkie, one of those pretty large, powerful ones. It's like a big fucking brick, but definitely has some range on it and everything. And as he pulls that out, he begins communicating with what you would guess to be our other defenses of the region. Okay. At this, what are you guys doing?
I guess we're gonna go to where.
Yep, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything anybody's wanting to get done as you have a few minutes here? Anything at all?
I mean, I'll take a look around at the other groups, kind of get a. I'm. This is very outside of his wheelhouse completely. So all of this is new. So he's very timid to do anything but anything in general, but anything also that will grant or give him attention. He doesn't want attention at all. He wants to
Okay.
do what he needs to do, but he's totally a fish out of water here. And although trying to keep his cool, he's completely just kind of clueless of doesn't understand the way things are done, doesn't understand what is expected. He's just kind of along for the ride, I guess, at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah, Ymir sees this native man, another armed person that is speaking in a tongue that he does not understand at all. It might as well be alien to him. It's so foreign. He sees this armed individual, but he doesn't react because, as you said, it doesn't appear as he's hostile. It appears that he's delivering a message. But still, Ymir his blood is up already because there was almost a potential brawl not 10 seconds ago.
Yeah, and you didn't even get
so,
your hammer wet, bro.
right. And so his adrenaline's kind of coursing through his veins,
For real.
and
Yeah.
he looks over at Wotek to try to get his shield brother's perspective on the situation because he's trying to read the energy. Like, should I be ready to attack? Should we, is this a threat or is it? But he's not necessarily hostile. He's just more confused and trying to suss out the situation.
Okay. All right. Excellent. At this, Wotek Wotek, who had taken up basically like his standard position, which I assume he probably usually stands to the right of you if you're left-handed with your hammer. So as he takes up his usual kind of defensive posture, and the danger is settling, his low bubbling, almost like motorcycle kind of low pitch growl slowly starts subsiding. But like you right away, you get an impression from him that he's a little angry that the cause of instructive violence could not be served for some of these heretical tech worshipping heathens. Let me see. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
All right. So, guys, we are back at it. Little dust up almost occurred between some Borgs and mechs and the player characters, but everything kind of settled down. And first off, Ren had been saying that he wanted to kind of, that he wasn't, that his character was not exactly feeling like he wanted to go out and make friends and be really open and outgoing and all of that kind of stuff. Let's see, we had this up. As you're kind of like, not hiding away or shrinking away from the group, but kind of obviously not head held high, like trying to kind of look around to see if anybody's wanting to talk or interact or any of that kind of stuff. You see I don't know if this is gonna work, but whatever. Okay, you see that there is an individual, a human, female, that is slowly kind of making her way through the crowd and is actually looking directly at you, kind of like she's approaching to actually speak with you, okay? And as she does, you see that this individual kind of steps up in front of you and does a very polite and kind of formal, just a very slight bow, but formal enough at the waist with her one arm completely down at her side. Formal enough to where you get a real idea that she is a disciplined and well-trained soldier, and that she obviously has the kind of code that insists that she shows the proper amount of respect, especially in things that should be treated as formal, like greetings or introductions, anything like that. So as she gives you this slight bow, it's just a slight motion, a slight kind of nod of respect, but it does impress upon you that this individual is definitely somebody that probably has some real honor. As she gets closer and actually steps up in front of you and bows, she begins to speak and very politely, and just with a normal kind of English North American kind of accent, maybe just a tinge of accent that you're not quite familiar with, some kind of regional kind of accent. She says,
Sir Techno Wizard, I am humbled by your presence. You obviously are a man of refinement, and assuredly have a proper and just code. Is this so?
Sorry, voice.
Were you able to hear that?
Yeah, it just was. It was
It's so good.
instead of feminine, it was very like lollipop kid. It's fine. It just threw me off.
Oh, good, good. Okay. Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, I've got it turned to where I can't actually hear myself talking, but I've gone through and selected some voices, so we'll see. We'll see how it comes out.
Okay, can you? I'm sorry. That last bit, could you say over again with the question at the very end? I heard the most, but then I started laughing. And
She
Sorry,
she basically asked if you're like a man of honor, if you're an honorable techno wizard.
I'll just look back at her and say, I'd like to think so. I'm fairly new to this.
Okay, she nods, and she says,
I think you should have a word with my mentor, the Mad Monk. Please come with me.
at this she holds up a hand and says,
Your friends need to stay here while you speak briefly with him.
she lowers her hand and turns and starts walking back into the crowd.
Do I hear this conversation?
Yes.
I turn to Ren and I say, if you disappear for a longer period of time, I want to let you know your code name is Blackbird. Just in case. I don't know who comes
What?
back.
Like my safe word? What?
Meatloaf. Meatloaf is your safe word.
Mine's pineapple.
Meatloaf.
That's what you just ate. Anyway, the Mad Monk. I'm sorry. I don't know exactly what I'm doing here, and I'm not sure if I should be following strangers to meet people that are called the Mad something, but from my very quick introduction, she seemed fine.
Is this a question? I'm not sure.
I'm asking that. Like, I'm talking to my party, being like,
I got you. I
like,
got
trying
you.
to get a read from them. Yeah, like.
Bear is right now, as we really quickly for a second switch over to Bear. You actually have kind of turned Bear, and you have kind of regarded the large bull-like creature behind you out of proper respect. I mean, Wotech is doing the same thing. So you've actually turned and kind of engaged with him and his little group that approached, just out of Warriors code. So you actually weren't really involved in this conversation that just happened. But Kilo Dex is right there and, hearing whatever it is that you're saying. So Dex, do you want to respond to him at all, or?
All I can tell you is to follow your heart. And remember, your code name's Blackbird.
That is the worst advice I've ever had. Thank you. When she's walking through a
That's
crowd of
fucking
people
great.
towards someone.
Yeah, she's walking over
towards
to kind of a little group that's clustered together.
Now, question: with my Techno Wizard little flyer thing, do I have remote access up to a certain distance? Correct. Like I can monitor its flight up to a certain distance away, and then it's basically I can set it to go farther and stuff like that, but it has to be preset. But for me to control it or actually see what it's doing, I've got a distance, right? Didn't we go over some of that?
I'm sorry, repeat that last part again.
My glider.
Uh-huh.
It can remote fly,
Yes.
and I can control it, but I can also monitor it to a certain certain distance. And after that, it's just kind of on its preset whatever stuff.
Yes.
So, do I like say if I go with her, could I possibly send something to my flyer to maybe flash or beep, so they might be like, "Hey, he's in trouble," or for it to guide them to me, like a beacon to me.
Let's say that you've got remote control from a wrist controller that you've got set up that can send a signal and communicate with it up to, it's like short range. Let's do...
Yeah, but like, does it have like a find my cell phone feature where it's like, "Hey, come find me because I'm here"?
No, because geolocation is actually not really much of a thing, but it could be that it should be at least like a security camera. So like from your remote control, you should be able to like turn on two-way audio, communicate with anybody that would be standing around and be able to hear what they say. And I would think there should be something that at least tells the direction of where your drone is from your position.
Can I use it to fly up and monitor where I'm going, and then if need be, have it drop down and notify them?
Let's say that it's like kind of a pretty basic spy drone. Yeah. So you go ahead and make the unit detach from the roof, and as it flies up, we'll say it goes up about 25 feet. And as soon as it gets up,
ping me basically, and then follow and watch me as I go.
Okay. Well, hold on one second. As soon as it gets up to about 25 feet, you guys hear a loud alarm start blaring from somewhere close by, and all of a sudden you see 3 different little drones about the size of a modern car that all seem pretty bristling with weapons. You see 3 of them converge in a circle around your drone, Kilo. And it says in a robotic voice, immediately disengage your drone technology or it will be fired upon.
I will right away click it and then have it reattach to the car.
Okay, it flies back down and reattaches.
Well, fuck, there goes that idea. I'll yell fucking meatloaf if I need you guys to keep your ears open, I guess, and I'll start following.
He remembered. That's awesome.
I mean, I'm sure you'll do anything for love, but I know you won't do that.
Oh, shit. All right, guys. So you are following her. I'm just making sure.
Yeah, I will follow.
Going really quick. So you start following her off into the crowd. Bear, as you're standing there regarding this individual standing in front of you, let's see, you realize that this individual, you realize that this individual, probably in a straight fight with you, actually might be able to take you. Now that's hard for you. That's hard for you to be able to, fathom. I mean, you are extremely powerful, but this creature is dedicated to the art of war. You can tell inherently from just its presence that this is kind of like if you had put all of your focus just into fighting, okay? And in that way, you can tell that not only is it a powerful physical combatant, but it also has magical, maybe psionic propensicy that has been focused towards combat craft meaning that it is probably incredibly deadly if provoked. Incredibly deadly. Its minions and compatriots seem to show it great reverence. None of them are talking or looking directly at you. They're all just kind of heads bowed, standing in a kind of strict posture, rigid posture, at attention next to their commander. He looks at you with deep respect in his eyes, and he says,
"From where do you hail?"
The
That was a
giant,
good one.
the giant looks at the fellow warrior with directly in his eyes with much respect, just like his member and clan. He looks at him with deep reverence and respect and says, in Gigantes, I'm assuming that we're conversing in Gigantes or some version
correct.
of it.
Absolutely
Uh,
correct.
he looks at the monster or looks at the warrior and goes, Jotunheimer, son of Clan Direbear. My name is Ymir. What is your name?
Okay, and at this he says,
I am called Fleck. I reside at the mountaintop with my brother, Tengu. I suggest that you come and visit us if you are able.
he glances side to side slyly and says,
You cannot trust these filthy mortals. Believe me when I tell you, the Tengu are a much more trustworthy and reliable partner to accept. Soon, you will see the true face of those who have summoned you and flee in horror.
with this, he takes a clawed finger and hands you, and opens up a small pouch, a drawstring on a small pouch on his side. He delicately reaches in and pulls out a small data chip that's in a hard plastic case. You can tell that he's got several of these in there, okay? But he pulls one out, and they must all be uniform because he doesn't in any way look down in to select one in particular. It's got a plain black case, but you can tell from the size that's exactly what it is basically what to us would be an SSD card in like a hard black plastic case. And so he pulls this out, and he bows his head slightly and reaches it out to you in a manner that makes you think that this is some of the most important and valuable information that he could be bestowing on somebody. And he just waits for you to accept it.
Hearing the weight in the warrior's voice, in Fleck's voice, Ymir slowly bows his head and looks at the tiny chip that was handed to him in his massive palm. As gently as he can, he reaches into one of the side pockets on his belt and puts the chip gently in, understanding that this script or whatever it might be is something of great importance that he might not understand just yet, but possibly he might find the means or have the means to uncode this information and understand what this warrior, this great god of war, this great war shaman is trying to tell him.
Okay, Bear, I need you to just go into the dice roller and just roll a 20-sided die. You need to get a roll of You need to get a roll of 12 or higher on a 20-sided die.
Here goes nothing. Hell yeah.
Beautiful. As you reach over, you don't crush the data chip. Well done.
He's learning.
I'll take it.
I just picture like these giant, like French bread loaf fingers trying to grab these tiny things.
That's
Tough
great.
for a giant, man. The world's not built for it. Even fucking Rifts, there's not much in the world built for a big motherfucker.
He's got
Here's this tiny little device. It's really nice and compact. You're like, oh, what is that?
He's got fingernails that look like black ball cap brims. Just sticking the fuck out. All right, so you do grab it and you put it away very gently. No problem at all. Everything's good. As soon as this happens, him and his whole cadre spin on their heels and start taking off pretty quickly somewhere you're not sure where. Okay? And coming back over to Dex real quick. Dex, as you're standing there, you're now noticing that there is a very strange individual that is standing close by, and he seems to be looking at you in a really, really weird way. He seems to be very interested in you, and is actually chewing on his giant, bulbous, kind of misshapen lower lip. This guy looks like he is some kind of hybrid between a knight of old and a lobotomized apocalypse wanderer. You almost get a sense about him that maybe he's not completely in his right mind from the giant demonic fist that's hanging off of the front of his armor. Doesn't quite make sense. The horns, everything looks off.
What a freak.
But as he's staring at you and kind of chewing on his lower lip, you see that he seems to kind of screw up the courage to take a first plodding step forward, and almost clumsily starts kind of shambling over towards you. As he does so, you get a perspective on him, and you realize that the individual is well over 9 feet tall. Pretty big guy. So yeah, he's walking your way, and you hear him mumbling to himself as he's doing it. Almost gibberish. So this is going to be interesting. Ren, as you're walking off into the crowd, following the woman, as you emerge into a smaller group, the individual standing before you is him.
Oh.
And as you step up in front of him, he performs that particular kind of salute of respect. And as he does, you see that there's a flare of energy that purposely is given off from the actual cybernetics that make up his body. The energy flare, you can tell, is magical in origin. Right away, this makes you realize that this individual may have information that could be very, very valuable to you.
I'm watching someone right now with cybernetic parts that magic doesn't seem to be really hindering it too much.
Bingo. As that happens, he bows his head slightly. You can tell that this was an actual show on purpose to show you this aspect of his abilities, which further intrigues you.
It was a magic flex.
Exactly.
Kind of.
As
Not intimidation, more of a.
He wants to pique your interest, absolutely. And as he does this, he bows his head slightly, and in a strange, almost alien voice, he says,
Greetings, wielder of the way.
Okay,
That's
at this,
fire.
let's go ahead and wrap it up for the day, guys. I appreciate you.
Fucking awesome.
That was